Review of my brew setup that I built a few years ago. Anyway, I'll show you some of the good things about it and some of the bad. It's a rim system. It's 9,000 watts. I have 4,500 in the boil kettle. The mash is controlled by the rims tube back here, and then the pump is underneath of the stand. Usually what I do is I'll fill the boil kettle with my mash water for 10-gallon batches, heat it in here with the 4,500 watt and the rims tube circulating it, and then I'll pump it into the mash tun here. As you can see, the perforated stainless, and that hooks up to the top of the beer keg. That way you can get pretty much every last drop. You don't have any dead space. And then when I'm mashing, I set the depth with my float valve here, and then this is my fly sparge. So that goes in here. That usually goes and sets on the top of the grain bed, and then shoots the water from above. And this basically, this float valve controls the solenoid valve on the hot liquor tank. And then here we have valves. This all comes from the pump, from either the boil kettle or the mash tun. Takes its temperature here, and then you can either route it to your mash tun, your boil kettle, or if you're heating hot water to put in the hot liquor tank, you put it up here. The bad things about this design are right here and right down here. Water tends to get stuck. The heating element is up in here. Water and usually grain material gets stuck down here, and so you always got to clean that shit out. Also, when the water is passing by, it usually creates like a whirlpool effect, I think, by the temperature probe, and sometimes material gets stuck back here. The temperature probe is really long. It goes all the way back here. If I had a wrench, I'd pull it. See, it's bottomed out. It hit the other side right now. So that's about that on there. So this is a bad spot. It'd be best if you set this up vertical, but then your other problem with setting it up vertical would be, while this heater tube starts to boil or something, it's going to create some bubbles, and then you might have an air bubble up here where your probe is, which would not be good. Also, one other bad thing about this, on the rims tube, when I was recirculating a mash, you're circulating back over the top of the grain bed. I would have this valve kind of kinked halfway or so, just to restrict the flow. That way you're not sucking the grain down to the perforated stainless and creating kind of a stuck mash. And what would happen is sometimes there'd be a chunk of grain that would clog this up, and I've actually boiled wort in the tube and scorched the crap out of it. So normally I either keep this a little bit heavier open, so that never happens again. The nice thing about this rim system that I built is that you can heat water super fast. You can also fly sparge without even paying attention. And then the other part is, when you want to cool your wort, I usually throw not a counterflow chiller, but just a regular immersion chiller in there, and then I use this and the pump to recirculate and rotate the wort in there to chill it faster, I usually put a little bit of aluminum foil over the top so nothing gets in. And so I just chill it and then watch the temperature on the BCS until it comes down to where I like it. And then what I do is I pull this off and I pump it into carboys. Alright, over here is the mess of wires. Here's my pump. This is how I control the pump. Also, this is the hex and the boil kettle kind of safety switches. I always change these on the computer first through the BCS, but whenever I'm doing something and I don't want it to kick on, I always flip these down. It's kind of a safety precaution. Otherwise, this is what controls the brewery. I know it's a mess, but this will control 8 different temperatures and 8 different outputs. I think it'll even control more than that. But this is the SSR for the solenoid valve. Then I also have that do the 2 different temperatures, one here and then one in the boil kettle. It also does the temperatures for my fermentation fridge, which is what used to be my kegerator. Now it's converted.